Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Freeholder Cooper. Here. Freeholder Graham. Here. Freeholder Johnson. Here. Freeholder Luciano. Here. Freeholder Mercado. Here. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Here. Freeholder Sebo. Here. Freeholder President Gill.
Here. Okay, can I please stand for the salute to the flag? I'm going to ask that Freeholder Cooper please lead us in the salute. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's keep it moving. I have before me the certification from the clerk that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. At this point in the meeting, I'm going to ask that our District 3 freeholder, TYSHAMMIEL Cooper, who represents the great city of East Orange on the Freeholder Board, to offer us greetings on behalf of the board, and also introduce any East Orange elected officials who are here with us tonight and invite them to make whatever remarks they'd like. Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be home here in the great city of East Orange. I want to thank Mayor Green and the City Council for allowing us to host our meeting here this evening and give the residents an opportunity to come out and observe what we do on the Board of Chosen Freeholders and make comments and offer any questions. At this time, I'd love to recognize my good friend and partner who I work with here. Please don't even have a seat, Mayor Green, for you to offer comments if you'd like for allowing us to be here this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. President, to the chosen freeholders, good evening. It's an honor to have all of y'all here in the great city of East Orange. It's good seeing all of you, and we welcome all of you to everyone's here tonight. You know, I rushed in from another affair, so I did not want to miss a good friend of mine who is the first opportunity that I got to see Brendan Gill sit in that chair over there, and our good friend here who we miss. How you get your same chair? Huh? And you know, I look around to all you Rufus and my good friend Wayne and our new elected freeholder Romaine Greer, you know, and all of you. Give her a round of applause, yes. And I hope this stay tonight is pleasant, and anything that we can do to make you comfortable, feel free to call on us. I'm going to sit for a while, and if I have to go get something for y'all, then we'll do it, because that's our hospitality that we do here in the city of East Orange. So again, thank y'all very much for being here in the great city of East Orange. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Green, for those wonderful words of welcoming. As we often say in church, we felt welcome from the moment we walked through the doors of the house. So we appreciate that. So thank you so much for coming out this evening, special residents and members that are here this evening. Mr. President, that's on the comment.
Thank you, Freeholder Cooper. Mayor Green, thank you for hosting us tonight. Thank you for allowing us to continue this tradition to bring county government right here directly to the citizens of East Orange. I do have to apologize with today's weather. I was not able to make it home between work and this meeting, so I apologize for my lack of appropriate attire at tonight's meeting. But okay, thank you. But thank you again to you, the members of your council, and for opening up your home to us this evening. So we really deeply appreciate that, and thank you, Freeholder Cooper, for leading the charge for us on that front. With that, Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Mr. President, there is one conference board meeting, April 24th, 2019.
Freeholders, do we have any questions or comments? Okay, Freeholders, do I have a motion or a second to approve the transcript? Moved by Freeholder Johnson, second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Yes. Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Here. Yes.
Freeholder Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Mr. President, there are none.
Okay. Let's move to the public comment session for tonight's meeting. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. If there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, whether or not it's on the agenda or not, please come to the microphone and state your name and affiliation for the record. You will have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Charlotte Galla. I live at 567 Stuyvesant Avenue, Irvington. I'd just like to commend the board that you are moving forward with the so-called trap, return, neuter, manage for our community cats. I applaud President Gill to see that he has been educated to understand the importance of the health and also the quality of life. So I want to again thank you. I'm not going to make this very short because I know everybody here is on board. I do want to make a little call for Senator Raymond Lesniak's Institute. He has a leadership group, and I'm sure everybody in here would like to get involved due to the fact he has institution causes that are social justice, which right now he's working on the Second Chance One bill that people are in the various penitentiaries or the jails or prisons, and they can have an opportunity to feel like an individual. He had a huge round table, and he's trying to get this bill passed because he feels everybody has an opportunity for second chance. Animal welfare, well, you know, meow, meow, and all the good stuff. Criminal justice and environmental protection. He's been talking about the quality of air with the trucks and all the issues that you might have in this township that you feel is important. If you would, I'm going to give everybody a card. You can contact him. Maybe you have a cause that you think is important that he could help us with it, because he has King College involved, he has interns involved, and he wants to make a difference. And you know what?
30 seconds.
Do something and meow.
Mama Meow, if I may, I just want to let you know that we're planning for a meeting the week of June the 16th for the committee regarding the issue you're so passionate about. If that is okay for me to share that, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I will do my cat.
Jim Price, 47 Gordonhurst Avenue, Montclair. Back in March, there was a meeting in Newark on the jail, and there was discussion afterwards about setting up an oversight committee. I was hoping for status on the committee. Does anybody have a status on that discussion?
Do you want to use the? We're not. I will answer that one direct question. I don't want to go back and forth, but do you want to use the majority of your time for that question, or do you want to wait till you used up the majority of your time?
A headline?
So if you were at the, I don't think you were at the last meeting, but there has been the administration, and we will respond in writing. The administration has been meeting with advocates now on a regular basis. And I have said publicly and working with the ACLU and other organizations on a proposal for an independent oversight board that I'll be sending to the administration when it's ready. Probably going to take a couple months based on that work. And I don't know, where's our counsel today? I'm sorry. So Ms. Parlavecchio and I just had a meeting this week with the ACLU on that matter. And we are putting together what that will look like, and then hopefully be submitting that to the administration for consideration for an independent oversight board over the facility itself.
Okay. What about the $750,000 for legal aid?
As been noted before, we are currently working with Seton Hall and Rutgers University on the allocation of that program. It's part of, like, I don't know if you just want to speak to that really quickly on the record.
Mr. President, that's correct. Oh, am I on? That is correct, Mr. President. I've had the opportunity to sit down with the administration, and We've talked, they've talked with Seton Hall Law School, their social justice clinic, as well as Rutgers Social Justice Clinic, and the New Jersey Legal Services, all of whom are currently providing legal services to detainees in the correctional facility and have been for many, many years. And we've been talking to them about enhancing those services with an influx of funding from the county and staffing up to provide more broad-based representation, and hopefully getting that underway this summer.
Originally, there was some discussion about Vera Institute overseeing that. Is that still the case?
10 seconds.
Do you want me to answer that?
So we'll use executive privilege. We're going to bring this to a close. This is really not a back and forth, but if you want to put these questions, we'll also answer them on, in writing. And it's probably good if you want to just sum the answer, since we can give that answer right now.
Sure. I've had a number of discussions with Vera Institute. They wouldn't be providing, the proposal they made would not be to provide legal services directly, but to offer administrative assistance, and that's something we're also looking at.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the Freeholder Board. My name is James Harris, President of the New Jersey Association of Black Educators. And of course, you know my usual topic of interest. I noticed that there are several significant contracts that are being considered tonight. And my question is always, what is the representation of African Americans in the companies that get the contracts, and exactly what is the oversight of those who provide the proposals? I believe in all of the proposals there is a provision that says that the company has to certify that they are an affirmative action equal opportunity employer. However, in looking at some of the companies, they appear to be non-diverse, particularly as it relates to African American on the workforce. So I would like to know if it's possible that the Board of Chosen Freeholders could consider having an impact statement on all contracts coming before the board, so that before you vote on those contracts, you can determine exactly what is the level of compliance of those companies that get the contracts. While unemployment is at an all-time low throughout this country, African Americans continue to be the most unemployed people in the country, and the state of New Jersey is no exception. I'm also very concerned about what used to be the quarterly reports that were given by the affirmative action officer, Ms. Deborah Collins. I haven't heard or seen one of those reports in a while, and I thought that is a policy of the board to receive those reports. So I would really like to know why those reports have not been given recently. I know that there are several members of the Freeholder Board who are genuinely committed to affirmative action and equal opportunity, but I dare say, given my experience, if you don't monitor this area very carefully, people go back to bad habits that leave certain people out of the workforce. And I would also make another request. A promise was made by the county exec when we were building the Donald Payne School that he would set up a meeting with the unions in Essex County to talk about increasing the diversity of the workforce in the unions. Some of the unions in Essex County are woefully underrepresented when it comes to African Americans. And I think that with the vocational schools, with the guys and women who are getting those degrees,
30 seconds.
that there ought to be a pipeline into the unions directly from the vocational schools. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your response.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Madam Clerk, do we have a date scheduled for our update from the Office of Affirmative Action that the board usually receives?
Mr. President, I don't have that information right now, but I will follow up on it tomorrow and get that information to you.
Okay. Just through the administration, is there a date contemplated right now for our quarterly update on that? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm meaning not the chair, but the update from our Office of Deborah, I just want to make sure I'm being clear.
Yes,
Yeah.
normally, Mr. Chairman, we present that to the committee that Vice President.
Okay, and then it comes to the board.
However, Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Through you, Mr. President, so we'll call for another affirmative action meeting before this quarter is up, and sometime next month. And we'll start having quarterly affirmative action meetings so we can get those reports. So you can have Mr. O'Paraki start preparing.
Certainly, Mr. Vice President.
Good evening. My name is Yael Weber. I'm an Essex County resident. I'm here once again in protest of the ICE contract. I have been told many times that the reason we need to have this contract is because people who are detained there need to be kept close to their families, and that if we don't have the contract, people will be sent far from here. That is already happening, and so I asked at the last meeting how many detainees who are Essex County residents or New Jersey residents have been sent to other facilities out of state, where they were transferred to, why they were transferred, and how many detainees we have in Essex County who are not New Jersey residents. I did receive a letter in response from Freeholder Johnson, thank you, in which it states, we forwarded your questions to the County Executive Administration, and they responded in a memorandum forwarded to us as follows. The ECCF does not initiate transfers, nor does it have any involvement in why detainees are transferred. Demographic information that you requested is not maintained by the ECCF. Questions regarding demographic information should be directed to ICE. And so my question for you, Freeholder Johnson, is whether you are satisfied with this response. Is this something that seems like an acceptable response to a concern about what's happening to our immigrant neighbors? And whether you have directed these questions to ICE. I think that if we have genuine concern for what is happening to immigrant communities locally, that needs to be followed through whether or not we are making money off of detaining them. And I think it's very clear that the interest is not actually for the well-being of detainees, but for the money that we're making off of this contract, which once again, I request that you end. Thank you.
Please speak into the mic.
Hi, to everyone. Good evening. I was here at the last meeting in reference to Bellsville Park, and the 3 items I had requested and wrote a letter to Jody in reference to it, and that was the fencing for the park, for the Carter, the bathroom that sits in the playground, and the window. And he did, through Josh, write me back and said they is doing some type of investigation into the bathroom in the playground, and it may need some renovation, which I'm quite sure could have been closed for over 20 years. But the fencing, he said, absolutely, there's no funds for it. Now, at the last meeting, President Gill, you had mentioned that you had came past the park and it was on the table at one point, and about fencing it. It don't need it all the way around because some of the fence is still in good condition. And you said you would have some type of answer or solution to the fact of the fencing. But the park is looking better, it's doing better. And Dan did promise to put some benches, and he did allow me, if I gave him dates, that I can use the senior building, and which I emailed him, but I haven't got any confirmed, because I asked to use it for June the 22nd and July the 23rd, and I haven't heard back from him to confirm that before I pass out any flyers or anything.
So just two quick, I believe that I have a copy of maybe of a response that Mr. Slavante sent, I think on May 17th, to you, which I think addresses the issue, a couple of the issues that were raised in your original letter, as it pertains to the fence, which is the immediate issue, which I think many of us agree and are trying to get some movement on at this time, that the administration has informed me that there's no funding at this point in time for improvements to the fence, and that that it will be considered for our capital budget for 2020. I have not had an opportunity to follow up on that response yet, and I will with the administration about temporary fixes to the fence, which I believe, one freeholder speaking, are needed and needed before the capital budget is done. But we're going to try to figure that out and see what we can do. The other issues I think that you raised in your letter were addressed. I'm not sure, Madam Clerk, if this has been mailed yet.
It was mailed today.
Okay, so it was mailed today. So you'll get the answers in writing, within a couple of days, and then we'll be sure to follow up.
So the fences that's being taking that into consideration.
Because
South Orange Avenue, where the school is it don't need it on MUN. MUN has the fence most of the fence is still in good condition.
Yeah, no, understood. So what we can ask Madam Clerk is we should give you the actual copy. The clerk can give you the copy of the response that was already sent on this issue. But I just want to be clear that right now the answer from the administration is no. So on doing anything about the fence, I don't agree with that answer, and I'm going to follow back up with the administration about some temporary fixes that I believe and advocate that we should do.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, freeholders. My name is Whitney Strube from Newark here in Essex County. I have a comment on an agenda item, and then I'll have a separate comment separately. I'll keep them both short here. I noticed on agenda item number 8 is the contract award to GD Correctional Services, LLC, for about $5.5 million. And so first, I just wanted to ask to confirm that's the same firm that was running the food services last summer during the DHS inspection that revealed the slimy meats, the moldy bread, the bloody chicken in the fridge. My understanding is that that is the same firm. And so I guess the questions that I have for all of the freeholders, I would like to formally request that all of you respond to this is, A, why are you renewing a contract with an exploitative firm that brought shame to Essex County in the national news for its poor food services for both immigrant detainees and jail inmates? And second, upon looking at the contract that you're voting to renew tonight, there's a statement in it from the Essex County Department of Corrections, which reads, quote, "The Essex County Department of Corrections does hereby stipulate that the vendor has provided service in an efficient and effective manner during the contract period." And so the question that I would like to pose to you is, do you agree that the vendor that caused national shame to come upon us for the abusive food practices inflicted upon our incarcerated population is efficient and effective, as the Department of Corrections claims? Because I personally disagree with that. And so any comments or feedback you would have on that, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Hi, Link Bella Hughes, they, their, them pronouns, 25 Vaughan Drive, Newark, New Jersey. I'm here to, again, implore the freeholders to end the contract with ICE, and I'd also like to just point out the problem that Whitney just pointed out with agenda item number 8. And I would ask that you refuse to renew the contract with GD Correctional Services because they've already showed that they've mismanaged food service production at the Essex County Detention Facility, and there needs to be a better way to provide food for folks while they're still detained. I would propose that the county could organize food service with civil service workers and managers a whole lot better, rather than continuing to privatize services that county government can do better than corporations. So that would just be an alternative that I would propose. But please refuse to renew that contract tonight. I'd also like to just raise a new question. I know that the ICE contract is now sort of on a track to be terminated eventually, right? And I would like to propose that there be a housing provision that's included in the termination process. There's a Housing First program in several U.S. and Canadian cities for people without homes who are living in the streets. People are able to get housing through this program, whether or not they have a mental health condition or a substance abuse problem. And I think it could be a model for how Essex County phases out the ICE contract. It provides people who are without a home, and if you're imprisoned, right, you're without a home. It provides folks with the ability to pick the location for their housing. For folks who are immigrants who are here, they could pick from family and friends if they're willing to take them in. If those are not available, then there can be the possibility of selecting private or public housing space that can be obtained by the county, working to organize with landlords and also state-based housing authorities at the local all the way to the federal level. So it's a very practical way of working to solve what would be one of the first needs for people who would be newly freed once the contract ends. So I would like to ask that, is it possible to amend the ICE contract to include a housing provision that says that upon termination of the contract, people who are currently detained, that they get their choice of housing as soon as they're free?
30 seconds.
So that's my question for now. And I'd also just like to follow up on the questions that I re-asked several months ago. I was asking each freeholder about your emotional experience of governing the Essex County Detention Center and the sense of history that guides your governance practices. I'd like to know, you can just tell me now if it's possible, are the new answers that I requested several months ago still in motion? Like, are they still being written? Or does the board believe that the first answer I received was sufficient and that I shouldn't expect a response?
Time's up.
I answer that question because I sent my responses. I don't know about the other board members.
Yes, through you, Mr. President. We sent out a response to those questions, a response to that question, and that is assumed that they were answered. And the response that you received came from the president of the board.
So when I re-asked the questions after a critique that the questions I asked weren't answered about emotions and about sense of history, I guess was that critique not accepted in the sense of, like, I guess as a teacher, like to grading a student's work, in the sense that you're also teachers teaching me as a student, right? That, are you saying that you think the answers that you first gave were sufficient?
Through you, Mr. President, we send out the responses that were given, and so the response that you received is the response that we were given.
Okay. So is it possible for me to re-ask the questions to get new answers? I know Brendan and Gill answered, but the other freeholders didn't answer the questions. So is it possible to re-ask those questions, to have each of the freeholders, I guess, besides Brendan and Gill, answer them?
Through you, Mr. President, as you as a public person doing public comment have the right to ask any questions that you choose to ask, and we will send out the responses that we get to you. That is your right to ask any question that you choose, and we will respond accordingly.
Okay. I can resubmit those questions to email to you, Deborah, if that's okay. Cool. Thank you very much.
I want to thank Freeholder Richardson for initiating the process of restoring my family's health benefits. You seem to have a good understanding of what being a public servant is about. Thank you. Number two, I'm sorry, Paul Alfano, Department of Public Works. Issue number 2, I'm requesting to be provided with the privacy policy of the contractor Scrubel, S-C-U-B-E-L. I'm getting ready to retire. I put in for my retirement, and I want to know if my private information is secure and how it will be different being retired. Would it be in storage? And these are the kind of things I'm looking for. I'm also asking the county to consider hiring someone to secure the workers' private information. Thank you for your time.
Good evening again, Whitney Strube, Newark. This time I just want to make a public comment that's not an agenda item separately from the earlier comment. I just want to briefly note, to follow up something Yael had mentioned, one of the reasons that we are critical of the contract with ICE is that it facilitates the work of ICE to storehouse and detain immigrants. And I think, we saw that this week. I just want to make sure the freeholders saw the recent news coverage in North Jersey, the Bergen Record, that 235 immigrants detained at the southern border are now being storehoused in North Jersey. ICE, in its usual manner, will not actually tell us where they are, but through our contacts in the immigrant rights community, we know that a lot of them are being moved into Bergen County and Elizabeth, at which point detainees from Bergen County and Elizabeth are then moved into Essex County. And so again, while I think we're all cognizant of the need to prioritize the need of current detainees to stay near their families, to end the conversation with that analysis does a disservice to the reality that stockpiling immigrant bodies for ICE facilitates their racist detention practices in New Jersey and nationally. And I just think that's an important point of order. And then the only other thing I wanted to say briefly was just that, we come here month after month and kind of harangue at everybody here. But I did want to sort of, thank President Gill for at least acknowledging us on a regular basis and seeming to grapple with these issues. I do appreciate that you've moved forward on advocating for a civilian independent review board and for universal detainee representation rather than the pittance of $750,000. And so I would like to urge the rest of the freeholders to follow suit. I mean, I don't agree with President Gill's positions on these, but at least, you're speaking to us and at least you're taking a stand. And I do appreciate that, and I don't hear that from many of the other freeholders. Freeholder Mercado, you represent me from the Ironbound. I would like to hear you on the record. I have not heard you come out for universal detainee representation and a civilian independent review board, I don't believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would like to hear that, and I would like to hear from all of the other freeholders where you stand on that, and if you're against a civilian review board and universal detainee representation, why is that? Why do you stand against these measures that those of us who are abolitionists and those of us who are in the service provider organizations like AFSC and First Friends, we unanimously all support this. And so I would urge the rest of the freeholders to get on board in a more progressive direction while we continue to kind of hash out the politics of these issues. So thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for introduction and first reading?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions for listing purposes only?
Mr. President, we have one. Ordinance number O-2019-0005, ordinance to amend ordinance number O-1979-00089 as revised, the Code of the County of Essex, Chapter 130, Streets and Sidewalks, addition of Article 4S130-9.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you list ordinance O-2019-0005 for public hearing at our June 12th meeting?
Yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances or resolutions on second reading and public hearing tonight?
Mr. President, we have none.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to resolution number 1 through 6, which are from the Office of the County Administrator and Risk Manager. We can read them into a record at a later time. This is resolutions number 1 through 6. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tim Walker, our Director of Risk Management, and representatives from Connor Strong are here to go through each of these items with the board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tim Walker, Director of Risk Management for the county. With me is our broker, Connor Strong, Mr. Ed Cooney, and Mr. Alex DeLucia. Today we're going to walk you through the 6 policies that incorporate the county's corporate insurance renewal for the year. It runs the time period of 6/1/2019 to 6/1/2020. In total of the 6 programs, we are looking at a 12% increase, a total of $192,370. We will walk you through each policy, and we're open for questions. Number 1, we are seeking authorization to renew the county's general commercial property insurance policy with an outfit by the name of Affiliated FM. We have been with them for a number of years. The renewal premium for this year is $590,538.21. That represents an increase of a little under 15%, actually 14.94% over last year's policy. Are there any questions?
On resolution number 1, Mr. McInerney. I'm sorry, Mr. McInerney. Mr. Parlavecchia.
Yes, are all the coverages in these policies the same as they were previously?
Yes.
Has there been any changes in any of the coverage?
No changes in the coverages, no changes in the limits, no changes in the retentions that the county is carrying.
And those limitations or those coverages have been reviewed in terms of past experience and seem to be adequate?
Exactly.
Okay.
In fact, if you'd like, we can have Connor Strong talk a little about the renewal process and what it all entails.
That's at the pleasure of the board.
Sure. Talk briefly. Not asking? Okay.
Freeholder Siebel.
Could you repeat the increase for me?
For this one or in total?
Just for this one, for number 1.
Okay, so for this one, we are looking at an increased total of, increased total of increased total of $117,984.
What is the percentage?
For the property policy, the percentage is 24, I'm sorry, we used the wrong number. It's 24%.
24% for the property?
Increase, yes.
Okay, because at our leadership meeting, it was indicated that the percentage increase would be 15%,
Yeah, it was a miscalculation.
but it's 24%.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. That explains it. And that's the correct percentage, 24? 15 was incorrect?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on number 1?
Freeholder Cooper.
Just general question for items 1 through 6. Why are we seeing an increase just in period?
As it relates to our property policy, there's a couple of reasons. One, there is an extreme hardening in the market for property coverages throughout the country due to natural disasters that have hit the industry over the past 2 or 3 years. In addition, as we were coming up on the eve of our renewal, the county had 3 act of God type claims that hit in a 3-week period with a total payout of about $1 million.
Each or collectively?
Collectively.
Okay.
So that had an adverse effect on our number.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, my name is Ed Cooney with Connor Strong and Bucklew. And if I could just add to the point about the property insurance marketplace, it's been hardening over a couple of years now. And we're actually able to keep the rate down and if not decreased over the past number of years. So this year is the first time we're actually seeing an increase in the marketplace on top of some bad loss experience this year.
Any other questions?
Carlos, I just for clarification, so the premium is, can you put on the record again what the percentage increase is?
Sure. For the total premium increase is $117,894, which represents a 25% increase. 24 something, but we round it up to 20.
Okay. And through the administration, the policy with FM Insurance Company is selected by who?
It is a full-blown renewal process. So when we go out to renewal, we go out to the insurance marketplace and we seek as many carriers as we can who will give a quote.
Okay.
And they were overwhelmingly the lowest one.
Okay. So the broker picks it?
With our help.
With your consultation?
Absolutely.
Okay. And based on that, through the administration, based on that assessment, this is the best possible
very best. Yeah, I think
deal
the
we
next,
can get.
the number 2 one was about a 40% increase.
Mm-hmm.
So it was far and away our best option.
Okay. And I think this question was asked again, but just on the record, with no change in coverage. Okay.
Yeah, no change in limits, no change in retention, but we had a rough year in terms of losses, and that's what impacted adversely our rate.
Okay. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Mr. McInerney?
Did we in the past use letters of credit on any of these insurance policies as part of the coverage?
I say not that I recall from the past coverages placed, and no insurance companies are really asking for letters of credit in this retention range.
Okay, thanks.
Any questions or comments? Okay, resolution number 2.
Resolution number 2 is seeking authorization for the renewal of the county's excess general liability, excess auto liability, and excess law enforcement liability with a company called Brit, which is a Lloyd's of London company. It is for the same period, June 1, 2019 to June 1, 2020. Total premium is $533,100. That increase is $106,100, and the increase there was a 25% increase as well. That was led mainly by the maturation of several of our claims that had previously occurred, but as we started getting more towards the verdicts or settlements, the reserve was increased significantly. We also had a couple of claims that resolved where the carrier paid in excess of $1 million.
I do have a question. Sure. Mr. Walker, with a year like this where we've had some bad losses, does that have an impact, or do you think in your experience that would have an impact on subsequent years' premiums, or is it more likely a one-year spike and then a lesser increase or a flat rate, assuming everything else remains equal? My point is, are we looking at multiple years of 20+% increases, or is it likely to level off again?
Very good question. It's going to change by each policy you're looking at. So for the property market, we're always going to be facing increases, but we will fight them down to lower numbers than what we got hit with this year, as long as we have a good loss experience like we've had in previous years. In the liability marketplace, we foresee a much better renewal next year because we took a lot of losses from previous years and resolved them in this past year.
And in the liability space, in this number 2, you can predict, you could see at least a year down the road.
Absolutely.
If you have a bad case that's coming close to,
Yeah.
like you say, settlement or verdict, you know that's in the pipeline.
Absolutely. And we kind of purposely took on the resolution of a number of these cases that have been going on for a couple of years, resolved them, and took the impact issue.
Is this just really a way for the insurance companies to recoup the money that they have to pay out?
In certain coverage lines, I would agree with you, like the property lines where they've paid out billions of dollars over the past couple of years, they're hitting the majority of their insureds for large increases. It doesn't help, though, when you have 3 act of God type losses in the span of a month, right on the eve of renewal. So we probably wouldn't have been facing as high an increase, but we would have been facing some sort of an increase.
Mr. McInerney?
Yes. Has the county considered creating its own reserves in terms of possibly increasing the deductibles, that we have?
We actually have pretty substantial deductibles when you look at it compared to other counties. Our workers' comp deductible, for instance, is $1 million.
Right.
Our liability is at $500,000.
Right.
Our property is at 50. So that's pretty substantial.
So on those claims then that you said previously we had to make, we paid the first, in one case, $1 million.
Exactly.
So how much was the insurance companies actually out of pocket in terms of the claims?
Well, on the
that you mentioned?
liability ones, where we had the retention for $500,000, but a couple of the settlements were in excess of $1 million, they were paying over $1 million. So that's what impacts your premium increases. Any other questions as it relates to resolution number 2?
Were you done, Mr. McInerney? Mr. McInerney, were you finished? I'm sorry. Yeah, were you finished? Okay. Freeholders, additional questions or comments on resolution number 2? Resolution number 3?
Resolution number 3, we are seeking authorization for renewal of the county's excess workers' compensation insurance with Arch Insurance Company. Here we are looking at a flat renewal, so a 0% increase. The total increase in premium is a $5,700 increase. The only thing that changed is we had additional payroll, and that sets what the rate is set on. The increase in payroll led to the increase in the small premium.
Mr. Parlavecchio? Okay.
Good.
Mr. McInerney? Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Number 3? Okay. Resolution number 4? Oh, excuse me, Freeholder Cooper.
I'm sorry. All of the ones we're talking about today run from 6/1/2019 to 6/1/2020. Okay. On to number 4.
Number 4, please. Thank you.
We seek authorization for renewal of the county's professional liability policy for the Essex County Hospital Center. That is with QBE Specialty Insurance. And the annual premium is $137,000, the exact same amount of premium as previous year.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio? Mr. McInerney? Freeholders? Questions? Freeholder Siebold?
I just want to check, this is the second year with this company,
Yes.
and you were satisfied with them last year, so we're renewing it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Okay, move to resolution number 5.
We seek authorization for the renewal of the county's excess public officials' employment practices and employed lawyers' liability insurance with ACE American Insurance Company. The annual premium is $110,942, $9,556.69. That is an increase over last year of $9,015, which represents an 8.8% increase. That was also the result of a couple of claims that were resolved above our retention, and the carrier had to pay more.
Mr. Parlavecchio? Mr. McInerney? Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Okay, moving to resolution number 6.
We seek authorization for the renewal of the county's privacy liability policy, also known as our cyber policy. That also is with ACE American Insurance Company for the annual premium of $30,810. We actually had a decrease this year of 0.06% over last year's premium.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio?
Mr. Walker, albeit a modest reduction, is there anything that we could attribute that reduction to?
Absolutely. Our IT department, headed up by Carl Hunt, did a phenomenal job on working on the county's cyber defense, so to speak, and a great deal of effort was put forth to setting up our barriers to prevent the type of ransomware and cyber attacks that other facilities have hit with.
Okay. Mr. McInerney? Freeholders, additional questions or comments? On the fiscal impact statements, it says funded by the insurance budget for 2019. That's is that a, Mr. McInerney, refresh me, is that a line item in our?
I believe these policies will be funded in the 19 budget and the 20 budget. Okay. So there's an authorization in our line items under insurances, which is a central expense, that deals with all of these insurance policies, or I should say the premiums on all these insurance policies.
Okay. So even though these all say 19, there's a possibility that this could be in our 20?
There's no possibility about it. The certification of funds will indicate that it's part of 19 budget as well as the 20 budget.
Okay.
Would you like me to explain why one of the policies pushes to 2020?
Sure.
The excess liability policy is paid in 50% shares. The first 50 is this year, the next 50 is next.
Okay. And even in through the administration, even though we're seeing significant percentage increases, we feel, even though this is also a 20 issue, that we'll be able to accommodate.
That's correct, Mr. President.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Freeholders, if not, I'll take a motion on resolutions number 1 through 6. Moved by Freeholder Siebold, second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, moving to resolution number 7, which has been withdrawn by the administration. Moving to resolution number 8. Actually, we're going to do 8 and number 33. Which are both the Department of Corrections. Madam Clerk, please read the resolutions.
Resolution 8, Department of Corrections Contract Award to GD Correctional Services for the operation of food services at Essex County Correctional Facility, exercising 12-month contract extension option, amount not to exceed $5,548,995.84. Resolution 33, Department of Corrections Contract Change Order to GD Correctional Services for operation of food services at Essex County Correctional Facility, July 1st 2019 through June 30th, 2020, amount not to exceed $5,548,995.84 to amount not to exceed $6,658,795, adding an amount not to exceed $1,109,799.16.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, the board has asked us to evaluate and assess some areas with respect to our food vision and correctional services. Mr. Ortiz, Mr. Boyd, and Representative Frangillo from the vendor are here to address this item. I just want to make one editorial comment that we are in the process. We realize that we would need a significant amount of time to do the work that you've asked us to do. So we believe that we need a year really to evaluate these contracts and see where we go from here. One, and a part of which is then also related to number 33, which is some near-term things that we want to present to the board tonight in terms of some areas that we think we can enhance our existing program in the short term. So, gentlemen, ladies, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Board. Mr. President, through you, ALFARO Ortiz, Director, Essex County Correctional Facility. I'm here to seek the approval of this one-year extension for the food services by the GD Corrections, and the second implementation of the enhancements for the food services provided by them to our facility. I have Mr. Mike Frangillo, CEO and President of GD Corrections Dining, to embellish upon what can be done here.
Good evening, Freeholder Board. Before I begin, I just want to introduce my team that's on the ground that has gotten us through a rough patch. And I just want them to come up and just want to thank them in front of everyone and just give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Good evening, Freeholder Board. Jennifer Langenbach, Resident District Manager, 8 years with GD Correctional Food Services and 8 years at Essex County Correctional.
Good evening, everyone. I'm LaRonda Lodge, and I'm the Director of Essex County Jail, and I've been working with the company for 8 years and at Essex for 8.
Thank you. Just a little history. I'm sure you know this, but I'll just go through because we were asked some questions. We've been partners with the County of Essex at this facility for over 20 years. Since 1991, there was a 5-year period where we weren't, and we've been there the last 9 years. In that period of time, not only at Essex, but at every single facility, we have 100% compliance on every inspection. Not one time did we get a deficiency, not one time did we get a non-satisfactory on a health inspection. This was a one-off, and I take the blame for it because what drives me in my life is to help my people. And I promoted Jen out of Essex Jail, and I hired the wrong person to take her place, and it just so happened 2 weeks after he was in there, this inspection came in. It's never happened to us in 20 years. You can Google our name, Google the Frangillo name, you're not going to see any problems with food anywhere. And, you know, I made a mistake, and I'm very sorry for it. I lived in Essex County my whole life. And, you know, it hurt my family, it hurt all of us, it hurt our name, and I promise you something like that will never, ever happen again. Some of the things that we've done is we've gone through and looked at our program, you know, look in the mirror, what can we do better? I think one thing we need to realize is the majority of the workforce there is detainees, and we need to coach them better and train them better. So we've hired a full-time trainer, certified trainer, that is on-the-job training, not just the written book that we have that we do and certify them. There's someone there teaching them and coaching them and encouraging them, as we would anyone else in our company. I think that's a big part of the improvements. The second piece is, as we look at the grievances, and again, it was 800 grievances on 2.2 million meals. 99.9% served without a grievance. The majority of those grievances are a request for halal meats. So we've come up with a solution where we'll serve halal meat in the facility, to the entire facility, because there's no way with that type of diet, the way the delivery system is, we'd have to do it to everyone, because otherwise you'd be putting them together. Not to get too detailed on that. And that's a really great improvement, I think, which is going to keep pushing us forward and continue the program that we have at the facility for over 20 years. We're 100% IBEW employee union in our entire company, 13 accounts. We serve over 8% of the meals in New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania. Our workforce, there was a question about diversity. 75% of our workforce is diverse, and that's even at the highest level. Our directors, if you take out the few family members, it makes it even higher. We're committed to New Jersey. We're committed to diversity, committed to fair wages. Our average hourly rate is over $14. And I thank you and ask for the opportunity to continue to improve on what we've done and to continue our track record, which has been really great in the state for the past 20 years.
Mr. Parledecchio?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Frangillo, just a couple of questions. First, a statement, really. I think this is the final, just for the board's edification, this is a 12-month extension that was built into the original award of this contract. I believe this is the final year. And as Mr. Jackson said, that now the process will begin for re-examining and going back out for bid or RFP, as it may be. Mr. Frangillo, we talked, listen, you've talked about what everybody knows about with the inspection, but there was talk about enhancements in this change order, item number 33, and you touched on it about going full halal meals or halal meats for the entire facility rather than just making it per inmate or per detainee meals. What does that mean? I know what halal, ideally I know what halal means, but what does that mean in terms of just the food itself? And how does that change?
It's going to change. So you obviously security, and besides that, you can't mix a non-halal beef patty with a halal beef patty. And the way we deliver, there's no way to do that. But it is a different product, right? It's 100% Angus beef hamburger now, where we were serving. We talked about in other meetings the ShopRite brand. Now we're getting a restaurant type brand of hamburger, right? Because it's just a different type of, it's a different blend. And that's what's out there, right?
So it's not just the idea that one is blessed and one is not. This is the actual meat itself.
Yeah. The marketplace for halal is a much higher end.
And is that just beef? Is that other items?
We're doing a chicken breast patty, we're doing a turkey hot dog, and we're doing chicken quarters, which is the leg and thigh of chicken.
Thank
you. Mr. McInerney?
Is the change order strictly based on that change in the quality of the meat?
Yes.
And what is that in terms of meal, like on a per meal basis? I know it was $1.59.
Yeah, so it's roughly a 25 cents increase.
Okay. So it's up from $1.59 up
to $1.91.
Freeholders, questions or comments? Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, just to recap, this...
Freeholder, please put your mic on.
Thank you. You're going to serve halal meats to all inmates, and that's what the $1.1 million increase represent.
Correct.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
6 times a week there'll be that on the menu.
6 times a week for what meals? Which meals?
We're alternating it, so it's almost every day. So one day it would be lunch, one day it would be dinner.
So then what happens on the opposite meal? Will there not be a halal
No, there
choice?
still is, which would be a more vegetarian soy option, which they're getting now. So we're incorporating in meat.
The halal food that you're bringing in, you said that it was a better product. Does it require more preparation than non-halal meat?
No, it's slaughtered and prepared differently as they make the product. For our preparation, it would be the same as any other product.
How many employees do you have at the Essex County Jail?
We have 27 employees and roughly 48 employees. I'll give you the guys' info. Hold on a second. $27 employees, 56 detainees.
So 56 detainees. And how much again do the detainees earn for working with you guys in the kitchen per day?
As is approved by statute 10A at $1.25 a day.
So it's $1.25 a
And
day.
then there's individuals that have specialties, so they get $4, depending on what the professional services allows for that.
So we're limited in how much we get to pay them for working in the kitchen.
That's what the 10A statute calls for, and we abide by that.
All right. Because my thinking is you have 27 employees, the contractor is going to receive a 20% increase in their price for providing a different kind of service that will come with a different level of work. The inmates should enjoy some kind of increase as well, but you're saying we're limited by statute that we cannot increase that price except for if they're doing some kind of special service.
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Through you, Mr. President, this is a follow-up question to Freeholder Cooper. So my question is, does the ICE detainees and the regular inmates all get paid the same? So there's no disparity in terms of...
That's correct. An inmate, a federal inmate, or ICE detainee gets paid the same way.
One other thing, Mr. President. So with this increase, so what time is the last meal served?
The last meal, dinner is served at 5:30.
So for someone who may not have any money on their books or may not be able to get commissary, so they just go hungry until the next morning. So is there any way to have like some snacks delivered, some pudding or some cookies, some milk or something at a later time?
As is the story throughout corrections in general, individuals do maintain certain amounts of food that are allowed to maintain for off-hour eating. They also share. Individuals that are indigent, we provide certain things for them, but obviously we have to maintain what we have to maintain with regard to running the institution.
What does that mean? Who shares what and you maintain what? What do you
What I'm saying is that individuals eat and they can save their food. They also share. But as far as subsidizing items for off-hour eating, there is no provision for that. That's basically true.
So why can't we put something in there? Why can't you figure that out and add that in?
We'll certainly consider it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be, especially for those indigent folks. Everybody's not going to save their food, right? I don't know how much food you're actually serving, if there's enough for them to save. But I know from 5:30 to the next morning is a long time. I'm just saying.
Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you appeared before us at the hearing that we had down at the Hall of Records, you talked about implementing some checks and balances to ensure that the issues that occurred last year that was cited in the paper and in the report wouldn't occur again. Can you walk us through the measures that you put in place to ensure that those kind of issues don't reoccur again?
Sure. The first was putting the team back together, bringing Jen back in the facility, which we discussed. We've added a full-time trainer who all they do is train. We have a food inspector who we've narrowed it down. We haven't gotten that person in yet, but we still are very close to that position. We have a third-party EcoSure who comes in and does audits. They haven't done it yet because, as you know, there's an inspection in this jail every week for the past 6 months. There's been someone in there, so that's going to happen the next few weeks. We've sent food out for random tray testing, which we have begun doing, we have done. And when EcoSure comes, they're going to swab areas to send out for testing as well, which they will be in the next couple weeks. I don't want to let them know when, but they're coming in the next few weeks. Like I said, we've been trying to get them in there, but there's a group touring the jail every week. There's not a minute for that to happen, but we're finally at the point that we're going to do it. So just also, since that meeting when we met, OSHA was in there today. We passed the inspection. ICE was in there, 437 438 critical control points passed and checked. What else special? State DOC unannounced visit passed, everything 100%. So since that time, we've had 3 major inspections that we have passed, and we're going to continue to grow and learn, and that's what the EcoShore is about, is they're not coming in to inspect, they're coming in to observe behaviors and how we're doing things and make recommendations on how we can do things better.
EcoShore is going to be paid and hired by you?
Yes.
Directly?
Mm-hmm.
What's your timeline for hiring the food inspector and the timeline for bringing in EcoShore?
Both will happen within this month.
Thank you.
And just to add, we're using EcoShore at every facility now too. I didn't, you know, my father hasn't left me alone for 6 months. I'm not letting this happen ever again anywhere. So we've already done Hudson, and Monmouth and Middlesex have already had their EcoShore audits.
Are you, have you reached out to our employment and training office to see if there's an employee available here from Essex County that could potentially fill
For that position,
your food inspector position?
Jen has been working with them as well.
Right.
I don't believe they've given us a candidate yet, but no.
Mr. Jackson, may I, Mr. President? Can we have our employment and training office reach out to these good people to see if we could do a matching game to get a county resident potentially employed for this food inspector position?
Absolutely, Phil, but I believe there's been conversation already in that regard, but absolutely we'll do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments? Mr. Parlavecchio? No additional questions. Mr. McInerney? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
David, I need a drink.
Okay. Moving to resolution. Yes, Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you. Before the commissary people, food people leave, what I hear that quick? Can we please have a 60-day report from you on the operations of the food handling?
Please put on your mic.
I'm sorry, I keep forgetting I have to press the button here.
You should know that.
To the mic.
I should know.
Please state your name. When you respond, state your name for the record.
Can we please have a 60-day report on the total operations, food, all the new people that you put in place, and the things that we can expect to make sure that we have smooth operations between now and the end of your contract?
Michael Frangillo, yes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move to resolutions number 9 through 13 and 24, all from the Department of Public Works. We can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson. 9.
Mr. President, Mr. Antonio will address each of these items.
David Antonio, Department of Public Works. Action item number 9 is the award of contract to Core Facility Services, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, to provide operations and maintenance of building systems, HVAC, HVAC, at both 320 and 321 University Avenue in Newark, New Jersey. It's a 2-year agreement, not to exceed $1,228,000, $228,085.94. And we do have a representative of Core Facility here, John Chiofalo, to introduce himself, the company, and perhaps answer any questions the board may have.
Good evening, Freehold Board. John Ciafalo, VP of Operations for Core Facility Services. A little bit about the company. We were formed in 2010. We are a subsidy of Pritchard Industries, which is a $450 million company, zero debt, self-funded. Our gross sales, Core Facility Services, is about $45 million per year, and our services include integrated facilities management, operations, maintenance, repair of HVAC, engineering services, janitorial services, as well as subcontractor management.
Mr. President, this is a bid contract, and these were the lowest responsible bidders.
Thank you. I have a question, because this is a new building for Essex County. So this is a new contract for us to have this building taken care of. Did you take care of this building before, or is this the first time for you with this building?
This is the first time for us at this building.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Vice President Richardson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So is this a union outfit?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments, freeholders? Okay, moving to resolution number 10. The administration is going to ask that the vendor remain. We're going to go through all these. There might be questions. We'll take them all together. So the vendor doesn't have to stand next to you, but wait till we take them till we're done. Thank you.
David Antonio, Department of Public Works. Item number 10, contract of award to Barnwell House of Tires in Fairfield, the sole responsive and responsible bidder to provide specialty tires and tire repairs for county fleet vehicles and equipment. This is a one-year agreement, not to exceed $75,000. Item number 11.
Let's just go through number 10. Mr. Parlavecchio? No question. Mr. McInerney?
Again, Mr. President, this is a bid contract.
Freeholders, any questions or comments on number 10? Okay, number 11.
Item number 11, award of contract for professional services to provide construction inspection services for the replacement of the New Dutch Lane Bridge in Fairfield, New Jersey, to Mac McDonald, LLC, an amount not to exceed $199,904. And Mr. Gerard Croner is here from Mac McDonald to introduce himself.
Good evening, Freeholder Board. My name is Gerard Croner. I'm a senior associate with Mott McDonald. Our office is in 111 Wood Avenue South in Island, New Jersey. Mott McDonald is a transportation and infrastructure consulting engineering firm providing engineering, design, and construction inspection services to state, county, municipal, and private clients in the U.S. Our Island office is our North American headquarters. In our Island office, we have 407 employees that include engineers, scientists, technicians, administrative support staff. And there are other local New Jersey offices and New York City office. There are another 146 employees.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I think my question is directed to the administration. In the material that was provided, it said this was an RFP. There were 15 firms who submitted proposals, but it didn't indicate where in the ranking or the pricing this firm landed. Can you give me an indication where they were on either? I assume they were the highest ranked if it was done by that type of RFP ranking? RFQ? Okay, so were they, was it a points total, or how were they selected?
Mr. President, Julius Coltree, purchasing agent. An RFQ is all the companies are evaluated all at once. They are all approved, and then they can be chosen through that process. There's no, as long as they're qualified, meaning they have their license, they have the other documents that are needed to be a professional company. And then they're just chosen based on their qualifications for this particular job.
Okay. So there's not a qualitative analysis like the ranking system that we sometimes see in the RFP process?
No, there is no particular ranking system. An example, as you are a counsel yourself, we do an RFQ for legal attorneys as long as they have the professional license as an attorney. In this particular case, licensed as an engineer. And in this particular case, they are probably the best firm to do this particular bridge or inspection.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders on Resolution 11, Vice President Richardson.
To you, Mr. President, since you referenced a real high number of employees, how many from Essex County?
We have, in the offices that I mentioned, we have 43 employees that are Essex County residents.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments, freeholders? Okay, thank you. We will move to number 12.
Okay.
Action item number 12 is once again the replacement of the new Dutch Lane Bridge in Fairfield over the Deep Havel Brook. Previously you met the professionals who would do the engineering. Now you're going to meet the folks who are actually going to do the construction. The Lowry Brothers, on track not to exceed $1,962,858. It's a 240-day contract. And to answer any questions you have, we do have Jeff Fiala from Lowry Brothers here tonight.
Good evening, Freehold Board. My name is Jeff Fiala. I am a project manager with Lowry Brothers Construction Corp. We are a family-owned civil infrastructure company. They've been in business for 33 years. We are an SBE company. We are also union. We are signatory with 472 and 825.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
No question.
Mr. McInerney?
Again, Mr. President, this is a bid contract.
Freeholders? Okay, seeing no questions, we will move to
Number 24. Number 13.
number 13.
And then
Item number 13, this is a budget insertion. This is for the local share contribution from the Township of West Caldwell for the traffic signal improvements at the intersection of Central and Washington.
Mr. Parlavecchio?
Yes, Mr. Antonio, this insertion covers half the cost of the signalization
Correct.
project? Okay.
Correct, sir.
And the-
Parlavecchio? Excuse me, Mr. McInerney, thank you. Freeholders, Freeholder Siebel?
I know that West Caldwell has wanted this traffic light for quite some time, and it's near a school. Is West Caldwell contributing to the cost of this traffic signal?
Yes, they are. They're contributing towards the cost, West Caldwell.
Are they paying half the cost?
Yes, ma'am.
And when will it be done?
I would be fast speaking out of line, but I would assume construction will begin as early as this summer.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Follow-up question, with the actual contractor and would this come back before the board again? Or is this being done through the township? Just want to make sure I'm clear.
Sir,
Questions for whoever's
we're talking about the
best answer.
$150,000 contribution.
Yeah.
That will be a separate action item.
So there will be so this will
Yes,
be
sir.
back before the board?
Yes, sir.
So I'll have another opportunity to ask
Yes, sir.
about design
And
okay, thank you.
Yep, yes, sir.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Okay, moving to resolution number 24.
Cordigacion, Essex County Council. Resolution number 24 is a request for approval for the transfer of what is commonly referred to as the teardrop parcel located in the township of Verona from the County of Essex. The County of Essex currently owns this property. It's a little bit more than a quarter of an acre of property located at the corner of Lynn Drive and Bloomfield Avenue. The Township of Verona has requested the transfer of this property to the township for the use in their affordable housing program. The township currently leases this property from the county. The county is not utilizing the property. It has no financial value to the county at this point in time. In exchange for this conveyance, the Township of Verona will provide a $1 fee to the County of Essex, and additionally, it will provide access to our Department of Public Works at the Verona Community Center for use in one of their rooms for our public hearings involving a federal permitting process. Our DPW, which is located in Verona, currently holds these hearings, but can oftentimes not accommodate the number of people that attend those hearings. So as a courtesy to the county, Verona has agreed that during normal business hours, it will allow, free of charge, the county access to the community center for these hearings. And we are seeking approval of the conveyance of this property, which will allow, again, Verona to abide by their affordable housing requirements and also give a benefit to the county with regard to the use of the community center space. I also have Matt Cavallo, the township manager from the Township of Verona, here if there's any additional questions.
Okay. Mr. Palavecchio. Okay. Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Freeholder Cooper.
No better. Keep forgetting. We're going to transfer this parcel to the Township of Verona for affordable housing, right?
Through you, Mr. President, that's correct, Freeholder.
So are we going to, I'm just thinking 50 years from now, when I'm not here anymore, will this be deed restricted if they decide to knock it down and build something else, do something else differently with it?
I will turn that question over to Mr. Cavallo.
Good evening, Freeholder Board. Matthew Cavallo. I'm the Township Manager in Verona. So the Township currently purchased a property or a lot of properties near this lot, and in turn is declaring it an area of redevelopment. Under the affordable housing guidelines, the properties will be deed restricted for 30 years for affordable housing.
Okay. Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Vice President Richardson.
To you, Mr. President. So let me get the other part. So for the county giving Verona this piece of land, they're going to give us access to a community center free of charge? Did I hear that correctly?
So generally, oftentimes when we're doing a government-to-government transfer, we do not charge the municipality that we're conveying the property to. This will be a $1 transfer cost, but as an additional benefit to the county in exchange for this conveyance, during normal business hours, the county, free of charge, will be able to use the community center for its permitting hearings that it holds in connection with federal projects that it conducts, which we currently do not have that access free of charge.
Okay, and how often does the county use that facility?
I'm going to ask Mr. Antonio to answer that question as a representative of the Department of Public Works.
David Antonio, Department of Public Works. We currently host various public meetings beyond our regular standing meetings like the Planning Board or Board of Appeals, etc. I would say an average of 6 times a year, and I know that I'm speaking from the Division of Planning alone, but overall we see maybe 6 to 8 times a year the facility being used.
At what cost?
Right now, we anticipate not paying anything to be using this
What are
facility.
you paying now? What are we paying now?
Right now, we have to make with a facility that's actually undersized. It may be great for hosting 20 or 30 folks. When we get to 50 or 60, it becomes tight. And you've been to that room, I believe. It's good for small meetings, but when we get to larger meetings, we could use a larger space.
That wasn't the question.
Okay, sir.
The question was, how much do we pay now?
Right now, it's free. It's our house.
So it's free?
Right now, we have meetings where we can have them.
But can I just interject?
Yeah.
But you don't use the Verona building?
No. This is us using what we have around the corner, and we have our own building.
Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Okay. We will take resolutions 9 through 13 and 24 together. Do I have a mover and a second? Moved by Freeholder Siebel, second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Yes. Freeholder Pomares, absent Freeholder Mercado. Yes. Freeholder Luciano, absent Freeholder Johnson. Yes. Freeholder Graham. Yes. Freeholder Cooper. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 14, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, this is a contract with Hodges Party Rentals, and the representative is here this evening to discuss it. It is our contract to provide for party-related items for special events and concerts, and the representative is here.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Council and President. My name is Simone Lanham.
Please speak into the mic.
Yes, my name is Simone Lanham. I'm from Hodges Party Rentals. I'm an office manager.
Thank you. Is there anything more you'd like to tell us about the contract?
Basically, anytime the county has any events, they call us. We do tables, chairs, all of the tents throughout Essex County parks, all of the council parties or anything that's outside that they need, indoor events that they have, as far as tables, chairs, linens, popcorn, anything that they need to order. We stop and basically do everything that they ask for us to do. We deliver early mornings, pick up afternoons, or evenings that any events are going on throughout Essex County.
Mr. McInerney.
Mr. President, this was the only response to the bid for the $200,000.
Okay. Freeholders, questions or comments? Any additional questions or comments, freeholders? Is there anything on resolution 14? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Graham or Cooper, I'm sorry.
Graham.
Okay. Freeholder Graham, thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper. Yes. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson. Absent. Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving to resolution number 15, which we can read into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Coltrane.
Mr. President, this is a contract for 24 months with Signal Electric in the amount of $380,000. The contract provides for service and maintenance for security and the help desk at the Sheriff's Department, which include the arrest alarms, cameras, etc.
Thank you. Mr. Polavecchio. Mr. McInerney.
This too was the only response you got to this contract as well?
Yes, out of
46.
46 potential vendors.
So Is this the amount paid every month, or is there a unit charge to it, or? I
No,
don't
it's
see any-
pay as we go, depending on what happens, if something breaks down, or something happens at the help desk at the control center.
But what's the unit charge? Because it's only, the documentation indicates only 380,000. So my perception was that it's 380,000 either way. Normally you would see something in there, unless I missed it, that would show like an hourly rate or something like that would be charged against the contract. And that I didn't see in the documentation, so the question remains, what is the unit charge to actually put a bill together?
It is, Mr. President, it is an open-ended as-needed contract. I know there's we'll have to get you more information on that, Mr. McInerney, but there is a charge for materials, for example, the cameras and so forth. But there's an hourly charge which we'll have to get to. I apologize for not having that here.
All right, that's right. Just was confused.
Okay. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Mr. McInerney, your understanding your question, but you would not be advising the board from not taking any action?
No, I'm not advising the board. I'm asking for the information.
Just the information.
Be forward to the clerk. I can say, I'm sure it's just missing there, that's all.
Okay.
The same.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Do I have a mover and a second? Moved by Vice President Richardson, second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Polaris, absent.
Who's here?
Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Siebel.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 16, which related, actually 16 through 21, which is the Division of Housing and Community Development. We can read them into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, Mr. Serio is here to address each of those items.
Good evening, Mr. President. George Serio, Division Director, Housing and Community Development. Number 16 is a request to approve to use the competitive contracting process to issue a RFP for community development software solution. Basically, what we're asking is the ability to get into the 21st century. We have a wide array of programs that we administer. Currently, we use the county's website to administer our programs through the application process. To give you an example, the application's on the website, somebody fills it out, they have to fill it out all in one shot. There's no ability to save your work. You have to print it out and go back and finish it later. We want a more intuitive system, also make it more transparent for the user, especially our homeowners that are applying for home improvement program funds, so they can see where in the process their application is. Systems are out there that will enable the user to see that. Also, the paper, we're drowning in paper. We had some plumbing issue at the office. Files are damaged. Under DARM, we're required to hold our affordable housing files for 30 years. So we're looking for a way to kind of save those on a system where we can retrieve them. So this would hopefully accomplish all those issues. Move to the next one.
Yeah, please, thank you.
17, extension and amendment of subrecipient
Actually, I'm
agreement.
sorry. You know what? Let's do each of these. Mr. Parlavecchio? Mr. McInerney? Freeholders, questions or comments on 16? Okay, let's move to 17.
I'm sorry. Once again, extension and amendment of a subrecipient agreement with Integrity Inc. Emergency Solutions Grant Program from $16,290 to $36,468. This is a current contract that we have with this organization. Previously, we had two separate agreements with Integrity. One was for rapid rehousing. The other was for homeless prevention. They notified us in a letter that they would like to take the remaining funds that was in their homeless prevention program and transfer them to their rapid rehousing program. The reason being they have experienced significant requests for these types of services, and they have exhausted the funds of that existing contract. So in essence, this is just a transfer of funds from one contract to another existing contract that's been depleted.
Thank you. Mr. Parlavecchio? Mr. McInerney? Freeholders, questions or comments on resolution number 17? Okay, moving to number 18.
18, extension of subrecipient agreements through the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. This is a housekeeping issue. These agreements had expired on March 31st. In order to pay out the remaining balances, we have vouchers in-house, so we need to extend these agreements. So this is simply allowing us to pay out the vouchers that we have in our office right now, and would close out these activities.
Okay. Mr. Parlavecchio? Okay, Ms. McInerney, thank you. Freeholders, additional questions or comments on 18?
19, extension of subrecipient agreements through the Community Development Block Grant Program. These are agreements with municipalities. These are more brick and mortar type projects, roadway construction, improvement projects that we received letters to extend them. They've also expired on March 31st. They have requested, each municipality has requested an extension for these agreements so they can complete these projects during the summer.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio, Mr. McInerney, Freeholders. Okay, moving to 20.
20 is a grant agreement with the between HUD and the county to use reprogrammed funds in the amount of $533,632.80 of CDBG funds to fund county-wide roadway resurfacing. These funds were returned from various municipalities from previous years. The county is allowed to reprogram those funds for shovel-ready projects. The county DPW provided a list of streets in eligible census tract and block groups that meet the eligibility criteria of the CDBG program, and the division would like to appropriate these funds for the streets listed in the agreement.
Parlavecchio. Mr. McInerney.
Mr. President, this is just a reallocation of funds that are already with the county.
Freeholders, questions or comments? The project list is attached. This is $500,000 worth of projects, a little over 533,000. Belleville, all in Belleville and Bloomfield.
This first tranche that is presented in this resolution, yes.
Okay, so these are selected through your department or through Public Works?
Public Works provides us a list of streets. Our staff goes through and determines the eligibility and indicates which streets meet those criteria, and that's how we come up with the grant amount.
Is roadway reconstruction paving, milling? What's
milling and paving, correct.
Milling and paving. And are these so I understand the criteria. Is there a ranking?
As far as
we have extra money, we're reallocating extra money. I'm just trying to better understand how we came to choose these projects.
Historically, the DPW has been able to meet the shovel-ready criteria, meaning each year HUD conducts a timeliness test on the program, which is done on April 2nd. Last year, the county did not make that timeliness test. We were under sanction. So the recaptured funds, those funds that were returned by municipalities, they were precluded from applying for reprogrammed funds until we got back in compliance.
Mr. McInerney?
So DPW was number one on that list.
I guess the real question is there a list? And none of these roads in Belleville seem to be continuous, if that's the right word. So the question is, why are they all in Belleville?
The list provided, we chose all the streets that were in eligible census tract and block groups. If a street was provided to us that's not in that eligible, we can't apply funds to that particular
No,
section.
but I guess the question is, I mean, is there a reason why all of the streets are in Belleville that are getting this reallocation? Is that the way it's done? So that if funds are returned next year, they'll all be in West Orange,
It's based on DPW's list of streets that they give us.
But how do they arrive?
I couldn't answer that. I can only go by what they
No,
provide us.
that's a fair answer.
Freeholder Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, first question. Am I reading this correct that these funds were reprogrammed from 2014?
Yes, correct.
What took so long?
Through extensions and other, I couldn't give you an exact question, but an answer to that question, but as you saw in previous resolutions, we've had extensions numerous years from various towns.
Okay.
Funds are returned, not in 2014, not in 2015, sometimes in 2018, and sometimes the amount of funds is not enough to go out and do reprogramming. When we accumulate enough funds to get a bigger bang for our buck.
Oh, so you let it build up sometime?
Yes, correct.
So is it safe to say from reading your memo that was attached that you could have chosen to reprogram these dollars to a social services program or housing or something else, or no, this was your only choice to doing streets?
The CDBG program is capped at 15% for services.
Mm-hmm.
Majority of funds have to be used for construction. We typically have not, and I think it's in our policy, I think reprogram funds cannot be used for public services as per the county policy on reprogram funds because there's a cap of 15%. So in other words, if the county used reprogram funds for public services, there is a danger of exceeding that cap, and therefore those funds would have to be paid back to the federal government.
You said that's the county rule or HUD rule?
That's the HUD rule is 15%. The county rule is that we will not use reprogram funds for public services for that reason.
And I share the same question with Freeholder President. Just curious, why did Public Works pick all of the streets within the same place?
Once again, I can't answer that question. I can only go by what was submitted to our office, and those are the streets that were submitted.
So you asked Public Works for streets because they would be a quicker timeline because you only had, 6-7 months to spend the money?
Well, we're anticipating, we want to get this done this summer so we can make time on this in April of next year. If we let these funds sit, they're not doing anybody any good.
So this same process was applied to this resolution and the next one?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Cooper. Mr. McInerney?
Will all these go out under one contract, one bid?
You're correct. They were broken up by year.
No, but I'm saying this $533,000, the work here, forget about the funding source, the work that's provided with these funds, will that be bid under one bid that'll include all these streets?
Yes.
Okay, then that makes a little more sense. Maybe that it'll all be in one area.
Most likely. Yes.
So that might be an answer why.
Yeah, that's helpful, Mr. I mean, that's potentially gets us there. But Freeholders, additional questions or comments? Is there anyone from Public Works here?
Mr. Antonio left,
Someone
Mr.
just
President.
left, huh? Let him get away. Okay. Additional questions or comments, Freeholders? Okay, do I have a, did we do 20, I'm sorry, Resolution 21. Thank you.
Great agreement with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for the reprogramming of 276,422 and 33 cents of community development block grant funds. This is simply the balance of funds for the county roadwide resurfacing program for DPW.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio?
No questions.
Freeholders? So those are the same, essentially the same process?
Correct. It was one application. We broke it up into 2 years for HUD's sake, so they can connect the dots when they come out and audit.
Okay. And this is Bloomfield and Belleville again? Correct?
Yeah, correct.
And these are, just I guess a more general question, these then are projects that we do not have to worry about in any of our operating or capital budgeting for next year? Okay.
That's correct, Mr. President.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments, freeholders? Do I have a motion for 16 through 21, excuse me, 16 through 21? Moved by Freeholder Cooper.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Graham. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper. Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, moving to resolution number 22. We can read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Jackson.
Mr. President, the county was the beneficiary of a employment pilot program from June 1st, 2019 to August 23rd, 2019, in an amount not to exceed $41,909. This is bid exempt, non-fair, and open government to government. It's a summer youth program for 80 young people whose families are participate in the TANF program, and we're excited about the opportunity to provide this employment.
Okay, Mr. Parlavecchio. Mr. McInerney. Freeholders, questions or comments? Okay, to have a mover and a second on resolution number 22. Moved by Vice President Richardson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham, absent. Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Excuse me, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolution number 23.
Item 23, Mr. President, is a state contract, the amount of $11,345.04. It's for ammunition for the prosecutor's office, for qualification purposes, and also for service weapons. And this award complies with your ordinance with respect to responsible armories.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. We'll read it into the record at a later time. Mr. Parlavecchio? Mr. McInerney? Freeholders, questions or comments on resolution number 23? Have a mover and a second? Moved by Freeholder Johnson.
Second.
Second by Freeholder Mercado. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper.
Yes.
Freeholder Graham.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado.
Yes.
Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson.
Yes.
Freeholder Sebo. Yes. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving to resolutions number 25 through 32, which are all proclamations, commendations, and in memoriam. We'll read them into the record at a later time. Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments? Do I have a motion to take 25 through 32? Moved by Vice President Richardson, Do I hear a second? Second by Freeholder Cooper. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Cooper. Yes. Freeholder Graham. Yes. Freeholder Johnson. Yes. Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Mercado. Yes. Freeholder Pomares, absent. Freeholder Vice President Richardson. Yes. Freeholder Siebel. Freeholder President Gill.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Freeholders, have any reports of boards and committees? Legislative reports? Written communication? Unfinished business? New business? Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go to public comment. Any member of the public would like to comment on any matter, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, if there's no one wishing to speak, Madam Clerk, let the record indicate that there's no one wishing to speak at this time. Freeholder comment session. Freeholders, do you have any comments you would like to make? Vice President Richardson.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment in terms of the next affirmative action meeting. Madam Clerk, could you come up with some dates so that we can have a meeting sometime next month? Mr. Jackson put our affirmative action person on notice that we will be having a meeting next month, and we expect a second quarter report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Richardson. Any other freeholder announcements? Comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
I'm sorry.
If I may, Mr. President, I apologize to the members of the board. If I would just ask the members of the board to please review our response to the allegations of Mr. Alfano with respect to his benefits. I found it particularly unkind comments, and I hope you just review our response. Thank you.
Sure, Mr. Jackson, thank you.
Through you, Mr. President. Yeah, we spoke about this, and he did come in today, and well, he thanked me, but it really wasn't me. I just asked the questions that the response from the administration was spot on. You know, there were some things that were lacking in terms of Mr. Alfano submitting certain information in a timely fashion. He missed some deadlines, and he kind of misrepresented what was going on in terms of the administration taking away his benefits from him and his family, which were inaccurate. That's not what happened. So I'm glad that it got cleared up, and we got a clearer understanding. And you're right, Mr. Jackson, that it was some real unflattering comments that he made, and he misrepresented what was happening. So,
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And again, the reason I just did that because our staff, particularly in health benefits, work very hard to do their very best for our employees, and those kinds of comments really are hurtful to them. And I just wanted to get on the record that that was clarified. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
No problem.
And to you, Mr. Vice President, thank you.
Yep, no problem, completely understood. I mean, actually, have quite a few folks who've reached out because they're, I think, based on audits and other things, we've had paperwork that normally was accepted that wasn't, and we just have to get through this process. So, but totally hear you and appreciate the response and the outreach and follow-up. Freeholders, any other questions or comments? Motion to adjourn? Okay, thanks. Meeting adjourned.